All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS live video. Got the Miami Dolphins versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got the Florida matchup going here. I don't know, this is going to be a pretty fun one, actually, especially with the DJ Chark news coming out. Really opens up the whole slate. You know, we don't have to jam them into our builds. Really kind of opens up the captain spot there for you. So it's a pretty interesting slate all around. You can really fit the studs in there really however you want to be honest with you. So there's going to be pretty much three lineup paths that you should go with. It's either going to be stack the Phins or stack the Jags. You could kind of do a fail and balance approach to, try to make a cash build. Pretty much with the Showdown slates, cash builds are, most of the time, they're pretty much similar to the profit line for GPPs as well. Hey, James, let's go, baby. Let's go. This is going to be a good one. I'm pretty excited for this one. It's one of the better ones that we've had pretty much probably the whole year. There's been like two other ones that were pretty decent as well, but this is one of the better ones we've had in a while, so I'm pretty pumped up for this one. We'll start off with pretty much Minshew and Fitzpatrick start off there. I don't think we have to play him in the captain spot. I do think that they're going to get over 15 DK points. It is tough to say how great they're going to play, but with some of the lineup paths that we're going to have, they're going to open up. I'll talk about that later on. It's going to be pretty easy to fit Minshew and Fitzpatrick into the build. The only problem with Fitzpatrick is he can have a random horrible week like we saw in week one, but then he bounced back with that 27 burger there. That was pretty nice to see. I don't think we should pay for either of those two in our captain's picks though, so if you guys want to do that, you can. I just don't see the point of doing that, to be honest with you. Like I said, DJ Chark is out. That really opens up the rest of the slate, and we'll touch on the captain's picks here real quick. So my three favorite captain's picks, they're all Jags because they're all underpriced. Now, yes, you can go with like Mike Gesicki for the Miami Dolphins. I'm perfectly fine with that. You can go with Myles Gaskins as well. I'm perfectly fine with that. Those are two plays I'll touch on a little bit later on. But let's talk about my boy, our boy, 9-to-5's boy, James Robinson. Okay. The dude was 3% owned in GPPs last week. He was 1.5% owned in cash builds last week. I'm going to be shocked if he's not over 50% owned on this slate. I really didn't get why he was that low owned last week. Kind of echoed that a few times now. He's been a perfect play each of the last 2 weeks now, really. And these projections, I should say, are for captain's projections here. So that's what's reflected here. So James Robinson, we know he's going to get around like 15 to 22 opportunities. And an opportunity is touches and targets. So combine that, and that's an opportunity. I think he's going to do that. And the Miami Dolphins aren't a very good defense. They're just not. He should be able to exploit them via the run game, and he's been very impressive. Whether it's CEH or JT, Jonathan Taylor, or James Robinson, those have been the top three rookie running backs. And you can make an argument that, it's pretty clear that Jonathan Taylor has been the best rookie running back, but you can make the argument that James Robinson has been just as good as CEH so far in 2 weeks. Now, yes, small sample size. We know that, okay? But he's looked good. I mean, week one, he jumped over someone, got an extra 5 yards, displayed great vision. And then last week, he came together against Tennessee, who was a decent defense. Now, they haven't put it all together just yet, but I really like them defensively. And James Robinson at this price point, it's not going to kill you if you put him in your captain spot. And in case you guys don't know, my strategy with Showdown slates in general is to jam your studs. And the way you do that is to look for the lowest price Showdown captain's pick that you can find that's going to exceed value. And that's not James Robinson, but he's a guy that he could end up with the most points on the slate. So sometimes I do like to target those players as well. And he's pretty priced down pretty low. So I don't mind him as a play. But we got Keelan Cole and we got Chris Conley as well. So with DJ Chark out, a lot of people are hyping up Chenault, which, yes, they should be. I don't think his role is going to change that much. His role is pretty much established. He's kind of spelling James Robinson in the backfield a little bit. He's a gadget player right now, operating on the slot a little bit. But on the outside, I think that Chris Conley priced pretty nicely for the captain spot. I think he is going to get the biggest boost in playing time. He is around 40% of the receiver snaps. I think that's going to go up to at least 60% of the receiver snaps tonight. Chris Conley has always been one of the best receivers that they've had, before DJ Chark, he was their most talented receiver. Now, like D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole, they flashed some upside, so they got a little bit more playing time each of the last 2 years. It has been pretty weird to see what the Jags have done with the receiver spot. Kind of the last few years, D.D. Westbrook was their number one before Chark came in. Looked like Keelan Cole was going to be the number one for a little bit. Some people thought Conley was going to be the number one for a little bit as well. They've kind of all just mixed and matched their way to somewhat relevancy, but nothing great. But tonight we get Chris Conley at a great price point. So last week he had 7 targets against the Titans, 8.8 DK points. You know, if he does that tonight in the captain spot at, I think his price point was like $3K at the captain spot, 2.2. Yeah, 2.2 for the flex, 3.3 for the captain spot. If Chris Conley does that in the captain spot, gets 8 DK points tonight in the captain spot, that's absolutely going to set you up for a really successful night tonight. So Chris Conley at this price point, probably going to get around 60% of the snap share. He's probably the best receiver right now for the Jags with Chark ruled out. I like that a ton. So you can put him in the captain spot and set yourself up for really being able to pay up for Minshew, Fitzpatrick, Parker, Robinson, Gesicki, Gaskins, Preston Williams, if you want to do that. Like, it just opens up everything else for you. But say you want to go with Keelan Cole, the guy that scored the last 2 touchdowns. I get it. You can do that as well. I like that as a play as well. The only problem is he's just priced up a little bit more than Chris Conley. Has looked good recently, though. 15.7, 17.8. That's great. 5 targets in week 1, 7 targets in week 2. Take away the touchdowns because I don't think he's going to, that's not repeatable for someone with Keelan Cole's role. That's just kind of lucky. Early season production. Good for him, but, you can't really count on that for Keelan Cole. Maybe tonight you can, just because he is the de facto receiver number 1, although I think Chris Conley and Keelan Cole are pretty much the same play. Keelan Cole could break open a touchdown. I think Chris Conley is safer, but I think Keelan Cole has more upside. I get it if you guys want to play him instead of Chris Conley. The only difference, David, I'll get to that question in a second. The only difference is that Keelan Cole is a little bit higher price, so it's not as safe. But really, if you start with one of those two, you're setting yourself up for really like a safe captain's pick, and then you can pretty much put in whoever else you want there. And there shouldn't be anyone that breaks the slate. So is D.D. Westbrook active? I haven't seen any news on him just yet. It sucks because Chenault is he took over his role, and that's why D.D. Westbrook is inactive. He was the receiver number 2 for the Jags. Pretty much the last 2 years, you could say 2 years ago before Chark emerged, he was the receiver number 1. But with Chenault there, D.D. Westbrook is pretty much irrelevant. Chenault is a better player than D.D. Westbrook, which hurts me to say because I've always loved D.D. Westbrook. I said for the longest time, if D.D. Westbrook just put on 10, 15 more pounds of muscle, he'd be a beast. He'd be Deebo Samuel, like someone like that. And he just hasn't done it. And it's just hard to see him doing anything tonight. Now, I would love for it. I could put him into a build. We got Jerker 19. Interesting name there, buddy. But whatever. He's active. Okay, I like that. So I want him to do something. I just don't see it happening. It'd be great because, once again, I do like him as a player. He's one of my favorite players. I don't know how long you guys have been following 9 to 5, but 2-3 years ago, preseason DFS, him and Keelan Cole were the go-tos with Brandon Allen. Oh, that was great. Really set us up really well. But so we'll talk about the rest of the builds here. So you could go, like I said, Chris Conley, we'll put him in captain spot. And then from there, you can really do whatever you want, okay? Like Devonta Parker, if you want to go with him, you can. 8 and 4 targets. Now, yes, he's looked decent. He's looked like his natural, really athletic self. But Preston Williams is there as well. He's pretty cheap. Preston Williams, sure. He dropped a touchdown last week. That really hurt. He probably should have had that. But 5 and 7 targets, I still think that this is a 1A, 1B receiver 1 situation. So we're getting Preston Williams a lot cheaper than we are Devonta Parker. That's what, almost $2,000 difference. It's hard to not pay for Preston Williams instead of Devonta Parker because they're pretty much the exact same play. Yes, I think Parker's a little bit better, and we need to see Preston Williams be a little bit more consistent. But given tonight, given the matchup, I think they're about equal. So, the difficult part is that, we would have paid up for DJ Chark on the slate, but he's inactive. So we got to figure out what we're going to do from there. I will say that James Robinson, we're just going to plug and play him. We know that we're going to do that. It's going to be tough to pass up on him. Now, in a week or two, once Armstead is back, then it'll be interesting to see what they do. It's going to be tough for them not to play. James Robinson has kind of worked his way into the stud role. He's looked great. It's hard to say that he hasn't. He just has. After that, you could go with Myles Gaskin, though, as well. This is kind of the safe approach. Now, he hasn't been used in the running game too much, but he has been playing in 60% of the running back snaps, which, not saying too much given the Miami Dolphins, but 6 receptions, 4 receptions, 7 targets, 4 targets. That's pretty darn nice for a running back. He's had that nice safe floor, 10 DK points, 14.2 DK points. At this price point, that's not going to kill you. So you could go running back heavy, and then you could fit in like the 2 de facto quarterbacks, and then you're set up pretty nicely. The only problem is that this is kind of the slate that we have, You can't really pay up for anyone other than Chris Conley at the captain spot with a build like this, a safe build like this. And that's kind of the problem that we have tonight. So let's say you want to let's do game script here. Let's favor the Phins, and we'll favor the Jags. We'll probably get out of here. So if you guys have any more questions on the slate, get them in. If not, we'll be wrapping up here in about 10 minutes or so. All right, so on the Phins side, let's say you think Fitzpatrick is just going to light it up. Whatever. Let's say you believe that. You got Parker, you got Preston Williams, you got Gesicki. That means we've got to fade Myles Gaskins, even though he's pretty cheap. Gesicki, I do want to mention, going against the Jags have been pretty porous against tight ends this year. Gesicki looked really good last week, and he looked really good at the end of the year last year. So, it won't be surprising if he hits value. And I want to say, hey, go Brewers. Let's get that wild card spot. I'm not really that pumped up for baseball. Baseball's kind of a what if to me right now, to be honest with you. So, also, if anyone can name the movie in my back here that I paused, I might hand out a free 9 to 5 membership if you can name the movie in the background there. It'd be pretty impressive if you can. It's one of the best movies of all time, if that helps at all. But anyways, Mike Gesicki, he definitely dominated last week against the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are one of the best defenses in the league. Now he's going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who definitely are one of the worst. It's going to be hard to imagine him not going off. And, I put him in a couple of my Showdown captain spots just because, he could easily break the slate, and that wouldn't surprise anyone. But this is kind of a safer build. If Fitzpatrick is playing well, that these are going to be the 3 that are getting the targets and are dominating. Then you could run him back with, I still think Chris Conley is going to be the play, but Chris Conley there, and then you got 9.9 left over. You could pay up for Shenault. You could pay up for Robinson. Let's go Shenault. And then if you want to do it a little bit safer, you could easily fit in Keelan Cole right there as well. So, it's a pretty solid build, and it makes a lot of logical sense. It's a pass-heavy game. Game script goes that way where Fitzpatrick and the Miami Dolphins get up early, and you can run it back with some of the Jaguars. Then we'll do it on the other side here, and then we'll wrap it up here in a little bit. So I will say, Minshew has looked a little bit better. He's always been really good at decision-making. He's just not naturally that good just yet. What separates him from the rest of the players is that he has pretty good decision-making. Now without his receiver number 1, we'll see kind of what happens. And I will say Tyler Eifert is priced down a little bit more. I don't like it, but it wouldn't shock me if he finally produced today. I just wouldn't want to place... If I'm doing one lineup, that's not the approach I would want to go with. So Shenault, you could put in there. You could probably do Conley. And you could do Keelan Cole as well. In all honesty, these guys should all hit value at least. At the very least, they should all hit value given their price points. Shenault is my biggest worry, but we know he's going to get the opportunities in the passing game and in the running game. I just think he's going to be too chalky. Honestly, his role is not going to change that much, so I'd much rather go with, James Robinson, honestly, and then go Ryan Fitzpatrick, run it back with, and then you could fit Mike Gesicki in there. That's a much better build than the, just pure hoping that Shenault gets an elevated role, which he could. Shenault look good, but I just don't see that changing that much. The worst thing, though, with Showdown slates is when the kickers and defense decide the slate. Now, I don't see that happening tonight, but if it did, I'd be pretty upset, to be honest with you, because that's just the worst. That's not fun for anyone. My fantasy football league, they eliminated kickers for some reason. And I'm like, guys, if we're doing that, we need to eliminate the defense as well. It's pretty much the same thing. Just as unpredictable as kickers. At least with kickers, you can, somewhat game theory say if I was going against Minshew tonight, I could at least game theory and put one of the Jaguars kicker against him. So if drive stalls out, the kicker's getting some points. With defense, it's pretty much, oh, hey, they got a lucky touchdown. Great. And if that happens tonight, that's not fun for anyone. That's just lucky. But, Minshew and Fitzpatrick could definitely give up a pick six, fumble six. That could happen tonight. But let's see. Anyone have any suggestions for the captain spot? I want to try to make a captain spot build with your guys' suggestion here. If not, I'll be wrapping up here pretty shortly. I will say, once again, Myles Gaskin seems pretty safe. James Robinson seems pretty safe. You can go with both the quarterbacks, have a pretty safe build there, and then you're set up, really well. It's really deciding between which pass catchers are going to be the deciding factor. Is it going to be Parker or is it going to be Williams? Is it going to be Gesicki or Parker or Williams? Like which one on the Phins is going to go off? Then it's deciding, Conley or Keelan Cole. That's really it. Maybe Eifert scores a short goal line TD. Maybe Shenault gets a TD as well. I just don't see that happening. I wouldn't want to bet on Chenault's role elevating that much. And at this price point, he should hit value, but it's too rich for me. But, look at this. This is set up really well. You got at least 10 points there. You got at least 10 points there. Hopefully 20, hopefully 20. You gain any D.D. Westbrook, take away from Keelan Cole much. Once again, I really love D.D. Westbrook. He's one of my favorite players just because of how much he helped me in preseason DFS a few years back. Same thing with Keelan Cole, though. But, no, I don't see Westbrook's role expanding that much. Chenault's operating around the slot. And maybe, no, I don't see it happening. Like, Westbrook was a beast when he was operating in the slot. I do think he's really good. But for some reason, the coaching staff doesn't like him this year. It's weird. I would love for him to go off. And, yes, guys, I'll just, put him in the build real quick. Super cheap, but where are you going to go from this? Honestly, you already have the studs that you want to fit into the build. It's not going to help you that much. It's just, there's nothing there. There's no point of really paying for D.D. Westbrook. Now, yes, you can, and I'll throw him in a build just because he's one of my favorite players, or was one of my favorite players, but there's no real point in doing it because it's just, there's no point. If he scores a touchdown, yes, he's going to break the slate. We know that. I'll be very salty. But, there's just nothing great there. It's just more risky. I'd rather play Chris Conley. I'd rather play Keelan Cole. Now, all of this is good, lineup. All he has to do is catch a pass there. I don't trust it. I don't trust it, and I wish I could. It's an interesting build. This is a solid build. Is it not? It is. I just don't trust it. All right, so real quick, I'll do one more build with Mike Gesicki here as the captain's pick, and then I'll wrap it up here for you guys. I'm guessing D.D. Westbrook is getting talked about quite a bit. This is a normal 9-5 play. It's D.D. Westbrook is priceless, though. He's easily going to catch one pass here, and he's easily going to exceed value because, honestly, $200, all he needs is one freaking rush, and he's going to exceed value. But there's no studs to pay up for. That's the problem. If, say we had a number one running back, the Dallas Cowboys, if they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars tonight, you could pay it for Zeke, you could pay it for Cooper, you could pay it for Dak. Then that would make a lot more sense. But tonight, it's you really just got to get the most raw points that you can. And I don't think putting D.D. in the build does that, unfortunately. So just wrapping up this build. Once again, I really love James Robinson. I think we just have to force him into our builds. I got one with him. You got to throw him in one just for the fun of it, especially. But it's weird. You can't fit him into your captain's build there because there's too much salary left over. Normally, that'd be a go-to captain's pick. And even if he didn't hit value, you'd be fine with it because there's enough studs that make up for it. But this is a weird one where there's just not enough studs to pay up for. Not enough known factors. So this is actually a build that I do decently. You could go with Gaskins. You could go with Williams. You could go with Shenault. You could make 3 builds off of this. I don't mind that. Gesicki really could go off and break the slate. If you didn't want to go with Conley, you could go down to Keelan Cole. And then this is something that I don't really like because then you're paying for a kicker. Not that great. Isaiah Ford, yes, he's gotten some snaps. And yes, at this price point, it's going to be close to if he hits or exceeds value. I expect him to, but I'd rather just go with Chris Conley. Not a bad build, but not something I love too much. All right, guys, so I'm going to be wrapping up here. This is pretty much it for the Thursday night live stream. Appreciate you guys coming in. Let's have a good Thursday night. Hopefully the make or break plays come our way. I know last Thursday night I had Giovanni Bernard as one of my favorite captain's picks, and he scored a touchdown, and they didn't review it. And he did. He scored a touchdown. That really ruined the night. It would have been a hugely profitable night. Instead, it just was like a break-even night. It's kind of crazy how plays like that can really affect the slate. If that happens tonight to me with Chris Conley, I would be pretty upset. But overall, it's going to be a fun game to watch. My boy James Robinson's going to go off. And Myles Gaskin's quietly, when they're running back number 1, quietly decent for the Miami Dolphins. Look to see what he does. I wish my boy Matt Breida would get a little bit more work as well. But be an interesting one. Got to figure out when Tua is going to get some playing time as well, because it's just a matter of time. Fitzpatrick, yes, he's fine. He's a great, holdover quarterback. But eventually you got to turn to Tua there. So I hope that doesn't happen this game. I hope Fitzpatrick plays well enough to the point that he's playing at least until the fourth quarter. And he should. I mean, this is an easy matchup. He should be able to dominate. So I'm not too worried about that. I think that's something we'll have to worry about at week 5, week 6. So, all right, guys, we are out. Let's have a good Thursday night. And as always, guys, let's keep cashing.